Hi, everyone. We're on Patreon. Find the link in the show notes. Show off your love for being curious with the official Info on the Go merch.
Whether you're sipping your coffee from our sleek mug, staying warm in one of our cozy hoodies, or rocking that fun fact inspired t shirt, or just carrying one of your essentials in our reusable tote bag, you'll be repping curiosity and style everywhere you go.
Each item is designed with our curious, on the go community in mind, and every purchase helps support the show. Wear it, sip it, carry it. Info on the Go is more than a podcast, it's a way of life.
Patreon, find the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat,
and that makes this Info on the Go.
answering questions you want to know.
On this episode of Info on the Go, tomatoes. You know,
Tomatoes!
this idea came from our belladonna episode, right?
Yes,
Because tomatoes are part of the nightshade family.
the deadly nightshade.
We're gonna get into some of the myth and stuff like that about that. Um, but yeah, I mean, you picked. Well, I guess we both picked this one. Um,
Yes.
I found it kind of interesting. I learned a lot more about tomatoes than what I really thought I knew for sure. The tomato is a flowering plant in the nightshade family, widely grown for its edible fruits.
The word tomato comes from the Spanish word tomate, which was taken from the Nahuatl, an Aztec language word for tomato. The scientific name for tomatoes is lycopersicum, means wolf peach.
Wolf peach. I think from now on, I'm just going to call them wolf peaches.
Same.
Yeah. A tomato is a plant with a fruit that we often eat as a vegetable. It belongs to the same plant family as potatoes, peppers, and tobacco.
Tobacco, eh? Tomatoes trace their origins to western South America, particularly the Andean regions that include modern-day Peru, Ecuador, and northern Chile.
While tomato species were likely first cultivated by the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican civilizations, where they were integrated into their diets, culture, long before contact with the Europeans.
The Spanish encountered tomatoes following their expeditions to the Americas in the late 15th and early 16th centuries.
By the early 1500s, tomatoes were introduced to Europe, where they initially met a mixed reception. Wonder why?
Right. When tomatoes were first brought to Europe in the 16th century by Spanish explorers, they looked quite different from the larger red varieties we know today.
Which, most vegetables are different than what we know today than when they were first cultivated.
Right.
Carrots were often purple. These early tomatoes were small, golden, and cherry-sized. Their vibrant golden hue inspired Europeans to give them names associated with gold.
Associated with gold. For example, in Germany, they were called Goldapfel, meaning golden apple.
That was pretty good German there. I would have said god awful. God awful?
Goldapfel? Goldapfel?
I'm not you do the German thing, I don't. This imagery of golden fruit resonated across various cultures, influencing the name and perception of tomatoes throughout Europe.
The French, however, took a more romantic view of these exotic fruits. Of course they did.
Believing that tomatoes had aphrodisiac qualities, they affectionately named them pompes d'amore, or love apples.
Love apples.
It's amore.
This association was perhaps born out of the fruit's novelty and allure, as well as its striking appearance, which contrasted with more familiar fruits and vegetables of the time.
While some Europeans associated their vibrant color and unique taste, others were suspicious of the fruit, associating it with toxicity due to its resemblance to certain poisonous plants in the nightshade family.
You don't say.
Yeah.
At first, Europeans grew them mainly for decoration because they were considered related to poisonous plants.
When tomatoes first arrived in Europe, they were met with suspicion and fear, largely because they belonged to the Salus family, a group that includes the highly toxic plant like deadly nightshade.
This association led to widespread misconceptions about their safety, earning tomatoes the nickname poison apples.
This visual similarity between tomatoes and their toxic relatives fueled the belief that tomatoes were dangerous to consume.
Many Europeans assumed that eating tomatoes could lead to illness or death, making them weary of integrating the fruit into their diets. Due to their striking appearance, vivid red or golden hues, tomatoes became fashionable as ornamental plants.
They were displayed in gardens and on windowsills, admired for their aesthetic appeal rather than their culinary potential. Overcoming the fear of tomatoes took centuries.
Centuries. Goodness. Gradually, people began experimenting with their use in cooking, and tomatoes slowly found their way into European plates.
Italy, in particularly, played a pivotal role in popularizing tomatoes as an essential ingredient in its cuisine.
One intriguing historical account suggests that the toxicity associated with tomatoes might not have been entirely imagined.
In the 18th century, acidic tomatoes were often served on pewter plates, which contained high levels of lead.
The acidity of the tomatoes could cause lead to leach from the plates and leading to symptoms of lead poisoning. Who'da thunk?
Yeah. This phenomenon may have contributed to the poison apple reputation. Well, I mean, yeah, if you're getting lead poison, I mean, and it would have to be, yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we didn't know the dangers of lead until,
Yeah.
I mean, we were still using lead paint in the 70s, so
Well, the Romans knew the potential, they knew about lead poisoning, but they continued to use lead pipes.
yeah.
Well, we're going to have to get into that sometime or another. This phenomenon may have contributed to the poison apple reputation.
Tomatoes ultimately shed their negative image and went on to revolutionize global cuisines, proving how deeply food industry can intertwine with cultural misconceptions and innovation.
Yeah. It's remarkable how one fruit transformed from a feared oddity into a culinary icon.
Tomato plants grow like vines and usually last one season, but in greenhouses, they can live longer.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not having to fight the frost. That's usually what kills tomato plants is the frost.
Right.
The flowers can fertilize themselves. I did not know that. I didn't know that tomatoes were self-pollinators.
I did not know they were asexual beings either. That was kind of wild for me.
Yeah. Many modern tomatoes are bred to turn red evenly when ripe, but this has made them less sweet and flavorful. And I can tell you, when you grow tomatoes in a garden versus at the store, there is a totally different taste.
Store-bought tomatoes cannot compete with homegrown tomatoes.
No, they cannot. Not even come anywhere close.
I need my own mater plant.
Have you ever had homegrown tomatoes?
Yes, my when I was really little, my grandma had tomatoes and carrots, and I believe snap peas or green beans. I think it was snap peas though. But all three of those, like pull it right out of the ground, wash it off, chew on it. The best fruits or vegetables you will ever have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I grow a garden every year and I grow a lot of tomatoes and I make my own salsa. And well, I can like some tomatoes, just so I can make like chilies or something other, but mainly salsas. But yeah, there is even those taste way different than what you get at the store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get back to tomatoes.
There are thousands of types of tomatoes that differ in size, shape, color, and taste.
However, they face problems from bugs and plant diseases like mildew and blight.
Tomatoes have a savory flavor and are used in foods all around the world, like pizza, pasta sauces, soups, curries, juice, and even Bloody Mary cocktails.
Woohoo. All right. I love pizza. I like pastas. I like soups, curries. I even like V8s.
Yep, I like the V8 juices. And I don't hate a Bloody Mary every so often.
Yeah, no.
It's
So
usually a good, hair of the dog.
I have a question for you on the V8 juice. Do you put any like salt and pepper in it or you just drink it straight? Or does it depend?
It depends. It depends.
Okay, I want you to try this next time. Take like a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. You know how you do a margarita where you put the glass in the thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just kind of do that, but with the salt
Mm.
and pepper mix. It's pretty
That
good.
doesn't sound half bad,
It's not too, I mean, you don't want to get it too salty.
obviously.
Okay. Yeah, just kind of like half rim or something like that is kind of what I usually do.
Right, right.
It's it's different. There are even tomato festivals held in places like Spain, Ohio, and Finland,
La Tomatina is a Spanish festival.
which will be a future dash.
Mm. Tomatoes originally came from South America, where their wild ancestor, a small red fruit, was first domesticated.
Early on, the cherry tomato likely became the base for the larger varieties we know today. Though scientists think the domestication process was more complicated than what it really seems.
Mm.
And I could see that because what is it called? They're going to breed these plants out for like taste and they're going to breed them out for like size. Uh, I think that's where they're going. So like you're going to take the seeds from the best one each time, and over time you're going to have something different, right?
Right. The cherry tomato may have existed before being farmed by humans.
So the cultivated tomato is believed to have appeared around 7,000 years ago, but it's unclear how people were involved in its development.
In Mexico and Central America, however, tomatoes were already widely farmed by the Aztecs, who used them in sauces and sold them in markets.
And the Aztecs were on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be like most plants. You see it in the wild, you bring it back, you eat it, you throw the seeds over on the side, or, through another process. Eventually, you're going to grow tomatoes there, and then you're going to say, oh, well, these seeds, if I take these seeds and plant them over here, I think eventually that's how you're going to get domestication. But, I'm just trying to wrap my head around domesticating of tomato plants from what we talked about earlier.
Right.
Anyway, we'll go ahead. The Aztecs had many types of tomatoes in different shapes and colors, from bright red to deep yellow.
After the Spanish brought tomatoes to Europe, they spread to Spain's colonies in the Caribbean, the Philippines, and eventually all of Asia. In Italy, people at first grew tomatoes as ornamental plants until they began using them in cooking around the 1600s. Over time, Italians developed many tomato varieties, including the famous San Marzano type of used for pizza.
John Gerard wrote a popular book in 1597 that described tomatoes as smelly and rotten. He had wrong ideas about tomatoes that influenced people in Britain and America for over 200 years.
Tomatoes continued to be eaten in places like Mexico as early as 700 AD.
By the 1700s, they started appearing on plates in the Americas, thanks to people like Thomas Jefferson, who brought seeds to the United States. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson.
Right? Not just a founding father, but the
Uh,
bringer of tomatoes.
Did you know that he also introduced mac and cheese to the United States?
I did not.
Yeah,
Mm. So not just a founding father, but a food connoisseur.
uh, the original foodie.
Yes. Thomas Jefferson played an intriguing role in the history of the tomato in America, cultivating and consuming the fruit even when it was viewed with suspicion.
Though tomatoes were not widely popular during his time, Jefferson is believed to have grown them as early as 1781, with official records indicating he planted them at Monticello from 1809 to 1824. Dang, he
Hmm.
was he was like ahead of the game, man.
He knew his business. Jefferson's garden book from Monticello documents his consistent planting of tomatoes from 1809 through 1824.
However, evidence suggests he had experience with the fruit even earlier.
In his notes on the state of Virginia, 1781, Jefferson specifically mentions tomatoes, indicating his early awareness and likely cultivation of them long before they gained acceptance.
Did
At the
he?
time,
I was going to interrupt you for a second.
okay,
Did he call them tomatoes or tomatoes?
potato, potato. At the time, tomatoes were widely feared and avoided due to their association with the nightshade family, which includes toxic plants like the deadly nightshade.
Yeah, belladonna family. Many believe the fruit to be poisonous, adding to its mystique and disfavor. By growing and eating tomatoes, Jefferson helped to challenge these misconceptions. He paved the way for their gradual acceptance in the American diet.
Jefferson was not only a dedicated gardener, but also a visionary when it came to designing visually stunning gardens.
At
Ooh,
yeah,
the,
I've seen
the,
pictures of the Monticello gardens and yeah,
so not only a foodie, a founding father, but also a great landscaper.
yeah, and an architect. I guess we need to do a whole episode on Thomas Jefferson.
What a man.
Yeah, because I mean, the plans for Monticello were his envisionary. Yeah, we'll have to just do a whole thing on him,
A jack of all trades and master of none.
but better than one. At Monticello, he grew tomatoes alongside other vibrant plants such as okra and sesame, creating both functional and aesthetically pleasing arrangements.
Today, Monticello remains deeply tied to Jefferson's gardening legacy, especially in relation to tomatoes.
The site collaborates with its farm team to highlight its historical connection to the fruit, including offering blends like the Bloody Brilliant Mix, which celebrates Monticello grown tomatoes.
One enduring tale suggests that Jefferson publicly ate a tomato in Lynchburg to prove it was safe to consume.
I wonder if people in the crowd were going, "Don't do it."
Probably.
Yeah. Well,
Witch! Witch! Sorry,
oh,
I couldn't
yeah.
resist.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have to do that in our in October.
Yes.
Okay. While the story remains unverified, it symbolizes Jefferson's role in breaking the stigma surrounding tomatoes, encouraging their cultivation and consumption.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. Ever wish your energy boost came in candy form instead of some can with sketchy ingredients? Look no more because Energy Rocks are here. This isn't your average energy product. It pops, literally. I was researching for a show the other day, struggling to stay awake when I tried these wild popping candy crystals called Energy Rocks. Within minutes, I was focused, alert, and wide awake. Total lifesaver. Energy Rocks are like pop rocks for grown-ups, packed with fast-acting caffeine, B12, and L-theanine for smooth, crash-free energy. Just rip, pour, and pop. No pills, no drink, no mess. With only 4 grams of sugar and flavors like pineapple, mango, and cherry berry, it's candy with a purpose. Perfect for students, gamers, busy parents, podcasters, or anyone who hits the wall. Pop, focus, go. With Energy Rocks, use code INFO on the go 20 off to get 20% off your first order or click the link in the show notes. This May, Spirit of 76 Fireworks is lighting up the sky with purpose, introducing Power of Pink, a dazzling 25-shot cake that supports breast cancer awareness year-round.
While October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the fight never stops. That's why Power of Pink keeps the conversation alive and honors those affected every single day.
A portion of every Power of Pink sale goes directly to breast cancer research and supports organizations. So when you celebrate, you're also making a difference.
Light up the night, spark change, the power of pink, because awareness shines brighter when we stand together.
Find a retailer near you at 76fireworks.com. That's 76fireworks.com. Hi, everyone. I want to tell you about a unique Father's Day gift, one that'll last for generations to come, and that's with tellmail.ai. Mail captures the stories, the memories, and the wisdom, and will put it into beautifully crafted chapters. You can turn these into a hardcover book that you can share for generations. My personal experience with Tellmail is going to allow me to be able to share my childhood memories with my children, my grandchildren, and hopefully their children. If you're looking for a unique Father's Day gift, look no further than tellmail.ai. Click the link in the show notes.
Through his passion for gardening and willingness to experiment with unconventional crops, Jefferson not only enriched his own table, but also helped change perceptions of a fruit that would later become a staple in American cuisine.
His influence reminds us of the power of curiosity and persistence in challenging culture norms. And we love people that have the power of curiosity.
Yes, curiosity it did not kill the cat, okay?
It's the basis for our show.
It is.
And there is Alexander W. Livingston, who from 1821 to 1898 of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Alexander Livingston revolutionized tomatoes in 1870. Before his work, tomatoes were small, ribbed, hollow, and not ideal for eating.
Sounds like a bell pepper.
Yes, do you know? Thinking about the way we just described that, exactly like a bell pepper. Huh.
Livingston carefully bred tomatoes over 5 years, selecting seeds from the best plants.
This led to the creation of the Paragon, the first commercially successful variety. He continued to improve tomatoes, eventually developing over 30 varieties.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, he's selectively breeding these tomatoes out to be better each and every time.
Right. By 1910, half of the major tomatoes grown in the U.S. were Livingston's.
Livingston's work transformed tomatoes into the smooth, juicy, flavorful fruits we enjoy today. So thank you, Livingston,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
love me some tomatoes.
Me too. I could just eat some with salt. Okay, I could just eat some without salt. Just eat tomatoes. I don't know.
Here my wife makes a cucumber. She doesn't like tomatoes, so she does it for me and my daughter. But she makes like a cucumber salad that has like just basically cucumbers and tomatoes. Um, Sometimes she'll put onions and bell peppers in it, and then like some salad topper, and you put a little salad dressing on it. It sounds a lot better than what you're thinking.
It sounds delicious.
It is really good. I mean, we do that once every couple of months or something or other.
Mm.
And the onions, you would think it doesn't give it a good, the onions give it a good taste.
I mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I won't incriminate myself about onions, but his company also helped preserve heirloom varieties like Acme, Beauty, and Golden Queen, which remain popular among gardeners.
Although tomatoes were first grown by the Aztecs and Incas over 1,300 years ago.
Livingston's efforts played a key role in making tomatoes an essential part of modern cuisine.
Today, states like California and Florida are major producers, and tomatoes are grown worldwide for fresh use and processing into things like ketchup and tomato paste. And I gotta say, ketchup and tomato paste are gotta be the two best things ever, right?
I agree.
Because tomato paste goes on pizzas and ketchup goes on everything
Everything.
except ice cream. I draw the line at ice cream.
Agreed. Agreed. For sure. Oh, California produces the most tomatoes in the United States.
I guess that's it on tomatoes, right?
No. Here on Info on the Go, we like to give you factoids.
Despite being commonly used as a vegetable in cooking, tomatoes are botanically classified as fruits because they develop from the flower's ovary and contain seeds.
While most tomatoes are red, they come in a variety of colors, including yellow, pink, black, white, and even purple.
I did not know any of those colors.
Me either. Well, I knew about yellow.
Yeah, I knew about red, yellow. I did not know about purple,
Mm.
black, or pink,
Yeah,
or
me either.
white. I've seen white tomatoes though.
I have not even seen white tomatoes.
Yeah.
Not unless they were moldy. I mean,
Oh my. In the past, tomatoes were considered aphrodisiacs, with some cultures even calling them love apples due to their plumpness and color.
there are thousands of tomato varieties with estimates suggesting over 35,000 different types worldwide.
35,000 different types.
That's insane.
That is crazy. Tomato seedlings have even been grown in space, demonstrating their resilience and adaptability. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
they were cultivating tomatoes in space.
on the space station.
Mm-hmm. Tomatoes are surprisingly high in water content, with about 94% of their weight being water. I can see that.
Most well, technically tomato is a fruit, but most vegetables contain a lot of water, like cucumbers, bell peppers, tomatoes, watermelons. Anyway, I
I
digress. We're
feel like
going.
you just listed a whole bunch of fruit.
Yeah, I did. Didn't I?
Uh-huh. I'm calling them
Okay.
vegetables.
Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that gives their vibrant color and offers various health benefits.
The leaves of the tomato plant contain solanine, a toxic alkaloid that can cause illness if ingested.
Vining or indeterminate tomato plants will continue to grow and produce fruit until killed by frost.
China holds the top position as the world's largest producer of tomatoes, contributing roughly a quarter of the global supply.
China is producing a quarter of the global supply for tomatoes.
Mm.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Following closely, the United States, which ranks second, with India securing the third place in tomato production worldwide.
In the United Kingdom, domestic growers are responsible for producing about 20% of the tomatoes purchased within the country.
During peak season, this figure increases significantly, with British grown tomatoes making up nearly half of all tomatoes bought.
Ohio's love for tomatoes runs deep, and in 1965, tomato juice was officially declared the state's beverage.
Tomato juice, the state beverage of Ohio. You need to do your little factoid thing.
Factoid.
This recognition highlights the state's connection to tomatoes, especially since Ohio has a rich history of tomato cultivation and innovation, including the contributions of Alexander W. Livingston. And Kat, you had a question for our listeners during our Belladonna episode, which was, are tomatoes good for you? Well,
Tomatoes are a very healthy food packed with nutrients and antioxidants that support your body in many ways.
lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that protects cells, reduces the risk of cancer and heart disease, and supports eye health. I love me some tomatoes, even more now.
Mm-hmm. Vitamin C boosts your immune system, helps heal wounds, and supports healthy skin.
Potassium helps control blood pressure and keeps your heart healthy.
And other nutrients provides vitamin A for good vision, folate for cell growth, and magnesium for strong bones.
Extra benefits: tomatoes may improve skin and hair, lower blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and promote bone health.
In short, tomatoes are nutritious, delicious, suspicious. Just kidding. In short, tomatoes are a nutritious, delicious food that can help you stay healthy.
Just don't eat the leaves of the tomato plant.
That's
Yeah.
not the good part. Tomatoes' leaves contain small amounts of toxins like solanine and tomatine, but they are not highly dangerous unless consumed in very large quantities.
These alkaloids act as a natural defense for the plant and even have fungicidal properties.
While raw tomato leaves have a strong, unpleasant taste, they can be safely used in small amounts for cooking, such as in soups or stews, and even to make insect repellent sprays for plants.
I've never heard of putting tomato leaves in soups or stews. Have you?
No, bay leaves, but not tomato leaves.
Yeah. Though generally safe, it's wise to avoid eating large quantities, especially if you're sensitive to nightshade plants.
Now, to make that insect repellent spray that's natural,
So now we're going to tell you how to make insect repellent spray from tomato leaves.
the ingredients 1 to 2 cups of chopped or mashed tomato leaves,
2 cups of water,
additional for dilution,
cheesecloth or fine mesh strainer,
spray bottle. And the instructions are soak the leaves, chop or mash the tomato leaves, and combine them with 2 cups of water in a large bowl or bucket.
Allow the mixture to steep overnight. Steep basically means to allow it to soak in a liquid for an extended period, typically overnight, to allow flavors or ingredients to fully infuse or soften, just so you know.
You want to strain the leaves out of the liquid using a cheesecloth or fine strainer.
So you want to dilute and transfer. Add another 2 cups of water to the strained liquid.
And spray. Pour the diluted solution into a spray bottle and apply it to the stems and foliage of the infested plant, paying particular attention to the undersides of the leaves.
If you need to control pests in your garden while protecting bees and other pollinators, it's important to choose methods that minimize harm. And I say, Kat, we do a follow-up dash after this episode that focuses on how to protect those pollinators.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Focus your application on specific pest-infested areas rather than spraying broadly, and always read product labels to confirm they are bee-friendly and to follow instructions precisely.
Additionally, you can complement these methods by integrating natural pest control strategies such as attracting beneficial insects like ladybugs and lacewings.
Or practicing companion planting with pest-repelling herbs. This combination of approaches can help maintain a healthy, thriving garden that is welcoming to pollinators.
We're going to have a follow-up episode as a dash of info on how to protect those pollinators. So, Kat, do you have a garden?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's in the plants.
It is in the plants.
Okay. I have a garden and I do plant tomato plants. That is one of my I have to plant tomato plants.
Tomatoes, potatoes, carrots,
I
beans.
I let's see, this year I kind of change it up from year to year, but I do have potatoes, carrots, onions, cucumbers, zucchini, green beans,
Mm.
and in the wintertime I usually try to plant the lettuce and the cabbage so the bugs don't get into it.
Sounds like you're gonna have to bring me some vegetables.
Oh yeah. Well, Kat, that's all I have.
Me too. If you would like to support this podcast,
Click the support link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
Email us at,
infoonthegopodcast@gmail.com.
and yes, that is all one word. Till next time.
Stay curious.